Welcome to Library Class. Now you might remember last week when we were looking at giant vegetables, we found two fake images. One was really obviously fake and the other one was maybe a little more subtle. But as you guys know, the internet is full of fake images. Some are funny, but some just might be a little more serious. And we are going to take a closer look. Let's start with this picture. You may have seen this before, and you'll guess, of course, that it is a fake. But what a spectacular fake! What an amazing image! Back in 2001, 2002, this arrived in hundreds of thousands of emails and convinced a lot of people it was real. It's actually a combination of two photographs, one taken by a South African photographer, Charles Maxwell, who took this phenomenal shot of a great white shark jumping out of the water near the South African coast, and a photograph taken by Lance Young for the United States Air Force, which shows a helicopter on a training exercise just by the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. But it wasn't just the photograph itself that convinced people that a shark really had jumped at a diver. When it arrived in people's email, it was often accompanied by a bit of writing that said, "And do you think you're having a bad day at work? Although this looks like a picture from a Hollywood movie, it is in fact a real photo taken near the South African coast during a military exercise by the British Navy. It has been nominated by the National Geographic as the photo of the year." It's a really clever piece of text, because where it says this looks like a picture taken from a Hollywood movie, it kind of guesses that you might doubt and then convinces you that actually no, it's true. And for that extra stamp of authenticity, it also mentions the National Geographic magazine, which, as you guys know, is a reputable source for information and images about wildlife and nature. It's famous for its jaw-dropping photographs of animals doing extraordinary things, and this image gets smuggled in as just one more example of that. It fooled so many people that the National Geographic actually had to make a public statement explaining that the photograph was nothing to do with them and that it was in fact a fake. Sharks seem to be a popular inspiration for fake photographs. No, not that one, although I do like the idea. Grr, help! Now take a look at this shot. Real or fake? Well, this one is real. It was taken in 2003 by the photographer Thomas Pashak of a great white shark following a scientist in a kayak. I mean, the scientist is in the kayak, just to be clear. You'd be forgiven for thinking it was fake. A lot of people did when it was first published. In fact, so many people came to the photographer's website to check out for themselves whether it was fake or not, that he caught the attention of the National Geographic and they hired him as a photographer. Now, this photograph has a strange afterlife. Take a look at this shark apparently swimming up the highway in Puerto Rico following Tropical Storm Irene in 2011. Yeah, that is exactly the same shark, by which I mean it's from exactly the same photograph. They've pulled the shark out of Thomas Pashak's original shot and then photoshopped it into this picture of some dirty water by the side of a car. In fact, this image was so popular that it started circulating again in 2017, around the time of Hurricane Harvey. But this time, the caption said that it was a shark swimming up a highway in Houston, Texas. And here we are again, the same shark turning up in a photograph of what was supposed to be a burst shark tank in a scientific center in Kuwait. Well, there is a shark tank in a scientific center in Kuwait, but it didn't burst, and this is not the scientific centre in Kuwait. This is in fact Toronto's Royal Bank Plaza, which flooded due to rainwater. No sharks were involved. Now, so far the fake images have been pretty fun, but there are times where they can have more serious consequences, especially if they're used to spread misinformation. Now take a look at this picture. Real or fake? Well, the answer is quite complicated, because it is a genuine photograph of a park covered in garbage. But I'm going to count it as fake because it was famously used to spread fake information. Last year, in 2019, there was a big climate protest in Australia. Immediately after the event, a group supporting the use of coal posted this image and claimed it was rubbish left by the environmental protesters in Sydney's Hyde Park. Well, there were some problems with the words that went with this picture. They were absolutely untrue. It wasn't a photograph of Sydney's Hyde Park, it was from London's Hyde Park, from an event that had nothing at all to do with environmentalists either in Australia or London. But the group supporting coal wanted to make the environmentalists look bad, so they made it look like they didn't care about the environment at all. Nice try, but the deception was quickly spotted, and now it was the turn of the coal group to look bad. Now, fake images have a really interesting history that actually goes back beyond the internet. Take a look at these photographs. These magical images are the famous Cottingley Fairy photos. In 1917, two young cousins, 16-year-old Elsie and 9-year-old Frances, astonished their families by claiming to have photographed themselves playing with fairies at the bottom of Elsie's garden in Cottingley in the United Kingdom. Many people, even photographic experts, believe the photographs to be real, including this man, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, author of the Sherlock Holmes books, who wrote a magazine article telling the world that the photographs were clear evidence that fairies were real. So, real or fake? Well, you can probably answer that for yourself. But I see no need to spoil the fun. If you're interested in the story of the Cottingley Fairies, there's a great short documentary that I'll post a link to at the end. Highly recommended viewing. So, what can you do if you want to find out the facts about fairies at the bottom of your garden, or indeed anything you might find on the internet? Well, there is a website that you can go to called Snopes.com. There are lots of fact-checking websites, but this is a really good one. It's been around since the beginning of the internet, more or less, checking up on the truth behind various stories floating around the internet and elsewhere. It's famous for being impartial, which means it's balanced. It doesn't take one side or the other. It's just interested in what the truth is. You can see here's its report trying to find out the truth behind the story about the shark tank bursting in Kuwait. So, if you have a question about an image or a fact or a claim that's being made, it might be worth checking out Snopes.com and see if they've already investigated it for you and are able to give you an answer. Alright, that is it for this week. Thank you for being here. Before I go, two things very quickly. Here is the link to the documentary on the Cottingley Fairies. Here is me reading the story of the Gruffalo, because why not? Keep discovering, keep exploring, and I'll see you guys after spring break. Take care. Grr.